man. What about third round, man? Anybody in the third round you're looking at this just like a good steal for you right now? Obviously, there's still a lot of names that trickle here into the third round, anywhere between that 24 to 32 spot, 36 spot. Is there any name you're just like, I have to go get this guy in the third round, or is there a player that you feel is undervalued?
The player I need to get usually tends to be third round.
There's some good names here. You know what I mean? De'Aaron Foxes, Paul George, LeBron. Some people like
it's probably Paul. I think the person that I would expect to, like, if he fell to me, I'll be very pleased. It would be Paul George. Mainly because, like, Paul George, I think, for much of the reasons why we talked about why Joel Embiid is a landmine of the first round, he's going to miss some call it 20 games. Paul George might miss some games too, but I just feel like the situation, he chose to go to Philly. Nick Nurse is a competent head coach that tends to play his stars and play through his stars. The one thing that's beautiful about Paul George's situation is, like, he is like Kevin Durant in a sense where, like, he doesn't need to command a lot of usage to be effective. He can just go get his whenever he feels like it, but he also happens to be a great defender. So just with I think we're going to see is some efficiency gains playing alongside Joel Embiid. I think we're going to see his assists go up. Because James Harden had the ball in his hands so much, I think we saw a little bit less of Paul George, the creator. He's an exceptional, he can play a pick and roll. Like, he can create. So I think he's going to get some easy buckets, easy passes to Joel Embiid in the post. So I think he can average close to 5 assists this year. That's going to boost his fantasy value on top of the steals that he gets, probably over 1.5 a game. I think he's an extremely valuable third-round pick if he falls to you there.
Yeah, and I love being able to, like, move him up and down the lineup, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, like, especially get him at power forward. Like, sometimes that's a real advantage in your weeks, especially.
So I would say, that's a great point, because there's only, like, probably call it 7 or 8 players that have 3 position eligibility in Yahoo, and Paul George is one of them.
Yeah, and I think, you touched on it a little bit. Even if the scoring does come down, he takes on a second or third role, whatever it is for this team. He's still going to provide the other stuff, right, that made him draftable. I think that would be the concern, is that his ceiling maybe isn't what it was with the Clippers, but I think you're still getting a really good floor play here. And the fact that, like, at some point, like you talked about, Joel's going to miss time. So his efficiency, his usage, will go up. And I mean, maybe a slight drop in efficiency in those games, but I think we know Paul George is an all-star player still. It's like he just lost that by going to 76ers. So
right.
I think he's good. I think he's a good pick there. One of my favorite players.
I thought you were going to talk about Bron.
Nah. Not in fantasy. See, fantasy got to be separate, bro. Like, my affiliation for Bron, I like taking Bron, but to me, he's kind of a landmine in this area because of the name. Yeah. I guess to touch on that, it's like, I think we've all kind of, sometimes you get that, right? You go name heavy in your drafts, and what LeBron just, he's not an elite free throw shooter. He's not an elite 3-point shooter. The defensive numbers are going down. The turnovers are always still be there. It's just like LeBron, we know he's becoming a lesser player. So I think we're still fixated on LeBron as the GOAT, because he is, you know what I mean? Like, so because he's the GOAT.
Because he is this casually, you know what I'm saying?
Because he's the GOAT, it's like it pushes up his value, but that's you drafting a name. Like, and you have to take him, like, really early. He typically is around a 40 to 50, ranked player throughout the season. So I'm like, I feel like the novelty of having LeBron James sometimes is a little bit more than, like, what he truly does for our fantasy teams. He's a landmine to me. And I can say that because I'm a LeBron stan, but, like, he is a landmine here in the second, third round.
He's 40 years old, man. Like, this shit could end any day of the week. We don't know. Father Time comes for us when we don't know when it is. But, like, he just defies. Right now, he's defying time. I just don't want to be rostering him when it all falls apart.
It doesn't make sense, especially when you could get a guy like, for me, one of my favorite players to take in the third round, Dan, Deonte Murray. And I've been a big Deonte Murray fan just for the fact that he gets, like, the defensive stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think going into New Orleans, giving him something to play for, like we saw last year, even in the middle of the season, when he kind of took ownership of, like, yo, we're going to be a competitive team. He was hitting clutch bucket after clutch bucket, 40-point games. Like, we were seeing really good play out of DeJounte Murray. And I think the ceiling's a little capped going to New Orleans, but playing alongside a Zion, a Brandon Ingram, even a CJ McCollum, who may or may not be coming off the bench this year. Like, I think this is a situation where, like, this team is ultra talented. They don't need him to be that scoring guy, but I think we'll see a little bit more efficiency, probably some higher assist numbers and better defensive numbers from Dejounte Murray, who's sliding into the third round. And to me, he's more like a second round guy.
Yeah, the thing I like about Dejounte Murray landing in New Orleans is that they didn't have a true playmaker before. They've been experimenting with Point Zion, and I think they're going to continue to do that. You know, Brandon Ingram also has some ability to generate assists, but I think that they were missing. It was pretty obvious that they needed someone to just take up the ball, run the offense, and that's what that Murray does. The good thing I like about Murray in this offense, though, is that he can still have like a 25% usage rate just because he's going to be the point guard. But also, they don't have a true big man. So I think this is going to be like a rebounding by committee thing. And Dejounte Murray's been one of the best rebounding guards. Like when he's been given the opportunity to do it. I mean, go back to the San Antonio days. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like he was putting up like 7-8 rebounds a game. So being that, you know, Trey Murphy's already hurt. There's already talks of Herb Jones being their small ball center. To me, that's just all screaming opportunity for Dejounte Murray to just do what he does. And that's like rebound well, get at least 5 or 6 assists. He's going to be active defensively on the steals. Willie Green went out and got the guy that they wanted. So I'm actually thinking that he's in the back of the end of the third round. He might even slide to the fourth just because people are like, oh, there's too much, there's not enough opportunity. There's too many pieces. And while I agree with that, there is too many pieces. I think that the Pelicans are going to have to be forced into making a trade at some point. And then that's only going to elevate the ceiling of Dejounte Murray because they brought him in for a reason. He ain't going nowhere.
Nah, he ain't going nowhere. And even if they don't do a deal, it's like I think the Pelicans will be better than people think they are. Like this, that was more of a game. I think that was more of a game-changing move. It kind of reminds me of like the DeRozan move where people know it was a big move, but like I think it was kind of a seismic move. Like DeRozan and Dejounte Murray, like I could see both of those teams being top 4 in the West.
Yeah, I think they're good regular season moves. We'll see what happens when we get to the playoffs.
We will. But other than that, man, any other parting thoughts for this third round here, bro?
I think Jalen Williams is going to end up being a third rounder that's going in the 4th round. But you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just really high on him. I think he's going to have a great season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he leaps over a lot of those guys that you're probably currently drafting in the 3rd round. Last one I would probably mention is Alperen Şengün. I think if you're looking for someone to, and again, this is probably going to the Giannis Sabonis territory of things, but he is a very good passing big man. I think the Houston Rockets are going to be a lot better this year. He looks more, all the reports I've seen is that he's been very committed to his offseason regime. He's got really lean, very good defensively, and that's what you want to hear anytime you're messing with Ime Udoka, because if you don't play defense, you ain't going to play. So I think Alperen Şengün is probably on all-star watch, you know what I'm saying, depending on how good the Houston Rockets can be. You're getting him as a late, I think he's going 28th right now, so that's, you know, that's a mid 3rd round. I think that's probably fair if you went 2 guards to start your build, get Alperen Şengün in there. You can keep on kind of building on that low-key assist because he's definitely a cheat code in terms of generating assists from the center spot.
Yeah, no, and that's a player I think it was better when he was ranked lower. I think he's one of those guys when like he was a 6th, 7th round guy. Now he's been bumped up a little bit. I think he's somebody I tend to like kind of slide past. I know another player I kind of just look at here in this range, and this isn't like I take this guy or don't take this guy. Jaren Jackson with Ja Morant back now, like we were taking him damn near 1st round last year. I want to say he was a 1st round pick last year, Jaren Jackson, and it's like he slipped all the way down here into the 3rd round. So I know you talked about
he was like a 2nd round pick last year. But I think the point still holds true. I don't think I've ever drafted Jaren Jackson Jr. because he's one of those guys that's like solely his value is dependent on the amount of shots he's blocking. He's not a good rebounder at the position. He just had a good season. He had his highest scoring season because everybody was hurt. Now Desmond Bane's back, Ja Morant's back. I think his block numbers actually could spike again because I think much of what we were talking about yesterday with what player were we talking about? AD. I think we're talking about. I think it actually could be a benefit with him playing alongside Zach Edey because he could be more of a. Or no, it's Chet Holmgren.
Chet. That's what we're talking about. It was Chet because
Isaiah
Hartenstein.
Yeah. I think that they're in similar spots where I think if he has more room to operate defensively, he could just probably get more of those perimeter blocks. He could still bang down low if he wants to. But I think we could probably see his stocks go up to, you know, probably 1.5 blocks, a steal a game. You know, he could be looking at like 3 stocks a game, which would preserve his fantasy value. I just don't like what he does elsewhere. He tends to be inefficient when he's playing with Ja and Bane. And I don't know, he just doesn't rebound. So like for a big man, he's not like really a big man. He's like more like a Brook Lopez than a a true force, like power force.
Hey, but Brook Lopez somehow he finds his way in the top 50 every single year when it's all said and done. I don't know how, but he does.
That's another old guy. I'm like, nah. He fits certain points, but like I'm not reaching for him. I'm not like advocating like, yo, you got to save. Like if you're not going to draft a big, just wait on Brook Lopez. Like, no, I would never prescribe to that.
I don't know. He finds a way. Like on my team for whatever reason, he ends up finding his way on my team for the block, the three. I don't know how,
but that's essentially what Jaren Jackson Jr. is. Like
does he provide more than that? Because if he's around 2.5 blocks, now he pushes his value way up. So I think unfortunately his value is tied to like how many blocks he's going to get in a game. But if he becomes elite at that again, that's what I'm saying. I think that's a pick where I look at the pick and I'm like, if he slips to me in the 4th round, I feel a lot better about it than the 3rd round. But he's a sneaky pick in my opinion.
Bruh. I mean, he averaged 19.7 with 4 stocks last year. That's great. But that was last year. That was without John Morant.
Okay, but the stocks go up now. If we're talking 5 stocks, that's crazy.
Oh, sorry, that was 2 years ago. My bad.
Okay,
that was 2 years ago. Last year was 23 points, 6 boards, 2 assists, and 3 stocks. So I mean, it's still comparable. It's comparable. I would prefer to have him in the 4th round. I'm not taking him in the 3rd.
Yeah. Shit. I hope he falls to me in the 4th round. That's how I play. Because I'm taking Murray. I'm taking a couple of other guys over Jaren Jackson at that point. But shit, man, that does it for the early rounds. Obviously, 2nd and 3rd round is a good round to like find superstar talent to complement. But be fluid, be able to make adjustments, and we'll see y'all on the next one, man. Peace out.